I was invited to my brother's wedding, but my wife wasn't, and the reason left me speechless. Hey everyone. Before we kick off today's video, I've got a favor to ask. We've noticed our channel isn't getting as much love lately, and subscribing is one of the easiest ways you can help us out. It's quick, free, and it means we can keep bringing you awesome content. Your support really means a lot, so let's work together to keep this channel growing. Thanks a bunch. Now, let's dive into the video. I'm a 34-year-old dude and I've been married to my wife, Emily, for about 5 years now. Things have been awesome between us, and we're pretty close with my family, especially my younger brother, Alex, who's 30. Alex recently popped the question to his fiancée, Lily, and we were super stoked for them. I always thought Emily got along well with my family, nothing seemed off or anything. But then something unexpected happened that I'm still trying to get my head around. A few weeks ago, I got a wedding invitation from Alex. I was totally excited because I've been really looking forward to his big day, hanging out with family, catching up, and being there for him. The invite was gorgeous, like one of those fancy cards with gold trim that screamed formal wedding. But when I opened it, expecting to see both our names, I was surprised to find only mine. No mention of Emily at all. At first, I thought maybe it was just an oversight or some weird guest list thing. I didn't mention it to Emily right away because I didn't want her to worry if it really was just a mix-up. I decided to quietly investigate, starting with a call to my mom because we're pretty tight. I figured she'd have the scoop. But when I asked her, she seemed a bit off and hesitated before giving me this vague explanation about how Alex and Lily were trying to keep the guest list small, so there might not be room for plus ones. Her response felt too casual and didn't sit right with me. I told myself I was probably overthinking it and decided to deal with it later. Looking back, I should have listened to my gut because things got messy. Eventually, I had to tell Emily about the invite. I didn't want to keep it from her, and I knew she'd notice something was up if I didn't say anything. She was pretty upset, to be honest, more than I expected. She's big on family and we've attended every family event together since we got married. Not being invited felt like a personal snub to her, and I could tell it hurt, even though she tried to brush it off. I kept telling her it must have been a mistake and promised to sort it out. I texted Alex casually, asking about Emily's invite, trying not to come off confrontational in case it was just a slip-up. But surprisingly, he didn't reply, which was strange because we chat all the time. A couple of days went by with no response, and I had this growing feeling in my gut that something was off. I tried not to show it to Emily, but it was bothering me. That weekend, we had a family barbecue at my cousin's place. I thought I'd catch Alex there and maybe talk to him face to face. Plus, I hoped someone would bring up the wedding, so I could get a read on the situation. During the barbecue, I overheard my cousin talking about how strict Alex and Lily were being with their guest list and how everyone's partners were invited except for Emily. That's when I realized it wasn't just a mix-up, they had intentionally left her out. I made up my mind to have a serious talk with my parents because if they knew about this, they were either ignoring it or didn't think it was important. I pulled them aside later that day and straight up asked them why Emily wasn't invited. My dad brushed it off like it was no big deal, but my mom was visibly uncomfortable, avoiding eye contact. She kept saying stuff like, "It's just one day, and we don't want any drama before the wedding." That's when it hit me that there was more to this story they weren't telling. Later that night, Emily asked me directly what was going on with the wedding invite. I just couldn't lie to her. I told her what I overheard at the barbecue and how Alex still hadn't gotten back to me. Man, she was really bummed out and felt like she was being picked on, like she had done something wrong to be left out. I tried to help, but I was at a loss myself. The more I thought about it, the more it seemed like I was missing some crucial piece of the puzzle. Emily was thinking maybe it had to do with some minor argument with my mom ages ago, but that seemed too small to be causing all this drama now. None of it was adding up, and it was starting to get on both our nerves. I knew I had to get to the bottom of it with Alex. This wasn't just about the wedding anymore, it was about something bigger, and I needed answers before things got even messier. So, update 1, I finally decided enough was enough and reached out to Alex. I shot him a text asking if we could meet up to talk about why Emily wasn't on the guest list. It took him a few hours to respond, but he finally agreed to meet up later that week, saying he'd bring Lily along too. That was fine with me, I wanted to hear her side of the story as well. We planned to meet at a laid-back restaurant. I told Emily about it beforehand, promising I'd try to sort things out and fight for her to be included. She seemed worried but nodded, hoping I could fix this. She didn't want to come along, and I didn't push her to. When I got to the restaurant, Alex and Lily were already there, sitting kind of awkwardly at a corner table. You could cut the tension with a knife. Lily was sitting with her arms crossed, and Alex looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. We skipped the small talk since we all knew why we were there. I jumped right in and asked why Emily wasn't invited. I wasn't looking for excuses, just the truth. Alex squirmed in his seat, but Lily didn't hesitate. She bluntly said she didn't feel comfortable with Emily at the wedding, like she'd rehearsed it or something. Alex just sat there, staring at the table. I couldn't believe it. I was expecting some talk about the guest list or a mix-up, but this was out of left field. I pushed for more details, and that's when Lily dropped the bomb. Apparently, Emily had made some comments at a family barbecue last year that offended her, like implying she wasn't good enough for Alex. This didn't sound like Emily at all. I asked when this supposedly happened, and Lily pinpointed a specific barbecue we all went to. I tried to recall that day, but everything seemed fine to me then. But Lily was firm, saying those remarks stuck with her and she didn't want any bad vibes at the wedding. I glanced at Alex, hoping he'd back me up, but he stayed quiet. That's when it hit me, Alex was siding with her. I asked him point blank if he agreed with Lily. He finally spoke, saying he didn't completely see it her way but insisted he had to support her, especially on their wedding day, like that made it okay to leave Emily out. It felt like a sucker punch. I couldn't wrap my head around my own brother being alright with this. I told them they were making a mountain out of a molehill, that if Emily did say something, it was likely just a mix-up. But Lily wasn't budging. She didn't want to risk any drama at the wedding. Things started to get heated. My frustration was boiling over, and I found myself raising my voice, accusing Lily of holding onto a grudge over something minor. She stood firm, though, and Alex just sat there looking like he wanted to vanish. Then Lily threw me another curveball. She said other family members agreed with her, which is why no one else was fussing about Emily not being invited. I was floored. I thought this was just between her and Emily, but now it sounded like a whole family thing. It felt like I didn't know my own family anymore. I left that meeting more confused and torn than ever, part of me ready to back Emily no matter what, and another part of me wondering if she somehow unknowingly stepped on some toes. I was really bummed that I even had to question it, but once I got home, all these doubts started creeping in. So, I spilled everything to Emily about what went down. She was hurt, actually, she was pissed. She swore up and down that she'd never said anything like what Lily was accusing her of, and I totally believed her. But man, it didn't make things easier. Now it wasn't just about the wedding anymore. Emily felt like my family was ganging up on her, and honestly, I got where she was coming from. For the next few days, things were awkward at home. Nobody mentioned the wedding, but you could feel the tension in the air. Emily started keeping her distance more, skipping family get-togethers and steering clear of anything involving Alex or Lily. It was starting to mess with our marriage too. Emily was upset that I wasn't standing up for her more, and I was stuck in the middle, not sure what to do. The wedding was coming up soon, and I had to figure out if I was going to go without Emily or back her up and possibly start a big family feud. I felt like I was being forced to choose between my wife and my family, and there wasn't an easy way out. The next few days were a nightmare. I couldn't get the wedding off my mind. On one hand, it was my brother's big day. I'd been looking forward to the wedding for months, getting hyped about celebrating with the family and all. But on the other hand, how could I go when Emily was being left out like that? The thought of showing up without her, knowing how hurt she was, it just didn't sit right with me. I needed to talk this out, so I called my buddy Mark, who's always been great at cutting through the noise. We grabbed a drink, and I laid the whole mess out for him. Mark didn't sugarcoat it. He was like, "Dude, what Alex and Lily are doing is so wrong." He told me not to even think about going to the wedding without Emily, because it'd definitely mess things up with her. And he was right. I kept mulling it over, and it was clear, if I went to that wedding without Emily, it'd look like I was cool with her being left out, which I definitely wasn't. Meanwhile, things at home were rough. Emily was having a hard time with everything, and one night, she completely broke down. I found her in the kitchen, crying her eyes out. She opened up about how hurt she felt, wondering if I was really on her team. She said it felt like she was being pushed out of the family, and it was killing her. That hit me like a ton of bricks. I knew I had to make a call. The next morning, I told Emily straight up that I wasn't going to the wedding unless she was invited. She looked relieved, but I could tell the whole thing had taken a toll on her. Even though she was glad I was standing with her, the fact that this mess even happened was tough for both of us. After that, I called up Alex. I laid it out and told him I wasn't coming unless Emily was invited. Alex sounded totally blindsided, like he couldn't believe I'd choose this. He tried to talk me into going anyway, saying I was being too dramatic. But I stood my ground. I told him I couldn't be part of something where my wife was being sidelined. I wanted to be there for my brother, but Emily had to come first. The fallout from that call hit fast. My parents called, and they were mad, thinking I was causing all this drama by siding with Emily over family stuff. They accused Emily of being the problem, and I was shocked by how upset they were. They just didn't get why I was sticking by my wife. My parents have always been kind of old school, but I didn't think they'd ever turn on me like this. I tried to explain that Emily wasn't the issue, and excluding her from the wedding for some silly reason was the real problem. But they didn't want to hear it. They just kept on saying I was overreacting and that family should come first, no matter what. Then Alex texted me, and it was a whole other ordeal. So, I got this really long text from Alex, loaded with guilt-tripping vibes, trying to make me feel like I was messing up his wedding by focusing on Emily. He was basically begging me to just go along with it for one day and act like it wasn't a big deal. But honestly, that only made me more irritated. This wasn't just about one day, it was about standing up for Emily and our marriage. No way was I going to back down just to avoid drama. Family gossip started flying around, especially with my extended family. My aunt shot me a text saying she got why I was doing this and had my back, which was super nice. But not everyone was so cool about it. Some of my cousins sent me passive-aggressive messages, basically calling me whipped by Emily and acting like I was making a mountain out of a molehill. It felt like the whole family was chiming in, and most of them weren't seeing it from my side. It was seriously frustrating, but I was trying not to let it get under my skin too much. The one thing that kept me sane in all of this was Emily. She told me how much it meant to her that I was sticking by her. She admitted she was scared I might give in to the family pressure, but knowing I wouldn't go to the wedding without her made her feel more secure in us. That was a tiny silver lining in an otherwise messy situation. As the wedding day got closer, the tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. My parents and Alex stopped reaching out, clearly annoyed that I wasn't budging. I felt the isolation creeping in, but Emily was right by my side, reminding me that we were doing the right thing. We spent loads of time just hanging out, talking about everything, and trying to stay positive. When the wedding day rolled around, I'm not gonna lie, I felt guilty. I kept thinking about how it would have been if Emily was included. I knew my absence wouldn't go unnoticed, and part of me felt sad that it had come to this, but I didn't regret sticking to my guns. The wedding went on without us, and after that, it was radio silence from my family. But I knew that wouldn't last, some kind of fallout was definitely on the horizon, and I was already bracing for the inevitable showdown. Sure enough, the day after the wedding, my phone rang super early. It was my mom. I had a feeling this was coming, but I still wasn't ready for what went down. No warm greetings, she jumped right in with, "Are you happy with yourself?" Yeah, not subtle at all. She blamed me for ruining Alex's big day, saying everyone noticed I wasn't there and made it sound like I'd personally wrecked the whole event. She was furious, and I could hear the blame in every word. According to her, I'd put Emily over family and torn everything apart. I asked if she had talked to Alex and Lily about why Emily wasn't invited. I thought maybe she'd finally get the full picture, but she just brushed it off, saying it wasn't a big deal. That stung. I couldn't believe how easily she dismissed it, acting like excluding my wife didn't matter. I snapped and told her it was a big deal to me and Emily and that it wasn't just about the wedding, it was about how Emily was always treated like an outsider for no reason. You could feel the tension through the phone, but she didn't back down. Instead, she doubled down, saying I'd overreacted and ruined the day. Not long after, my dad called, and wow, if I thought things couldn't get more awkward, I was wrong. The conversation with him was even colder. He wasn't angry, just disappointed. He made it clear he felt I'd let the family down by not showing up and that I should have just put the issue aside for Alex's sake. That hurt. He kept going on about family obligations, but I couldn't wrap my head around how he could expect me to leave Emily behind and just pretend everything was okay. While I was on the call with my dad, Emily overheard some of it. She'd been trying to stay out of it, but this was too much. She stepped in, expressing exactly how she felt about being treated like an outsider from the start and how the wedding snub was the last straw. It was the first time she directly confronted them about it. I stood there supporting her, realizing how deeply this had affected her. I finally laid it all out for my parents. They'd always been passive-aggressive towards Emily, and now it was obvious the wedding exclusion was deliberate. I told them I wouldn't attend any more family events until they owned up to what they'd done. It was a tough line to draw, but it had to be done. Later that day, Alex reached out, and I knew the conversation was far from over. So, he was really conflicted because he didn't think leaving Emily out would cause such a huge problem. He was shocked I would actually consider skipping the wedding, which really surprised me. I told him it was just not right to think I'd leave my wife out of something so significant, and I couldn't believe he thought it was okay. Then Alex casually let it slip that it wasn't just Lily who wanted Emily left out, Even our mom had expressed concerns about Emily attending, saying she didn't want any drama at the wedding. It felt like my world flipped upside down. I always thought it was just an issue between Lily and Emily, but turns out, my own mom was involved behind my back. I was hurt in a way I can hardly describe. I called my mom right away to confront her. At first, she denied it, but when I pressed, she finally admitted that she and Lily had decided it'd be easier if Emily didn't come. She downplayed it by saying they just wanted to avoid tension, but that wasn't the point for me. The fact that she went behind my back with Lily to exclude Emily was the last straw. I told her straight up that her actions were unforgivable and I needed time away from her. I ended the conversation because I didn't want to hear excuses. The fallout was immediate and sent shockwaves through the family. My dad tried to mediate, but I wasn't interested unless they would fully recognize how they treated Emily. I wasn't going to sweep this under the rug to keep the peace. Emily felt both justified and hurt. She was grateful I stood up for her, but the situation weighed heavily on her. It was bittersweet because while we grew stronger as a couple, my family ties were unraveling. Then came the social media drama. I noticed some extended family had unfriended or blocked us. It started subtly, but soon enough, it was clear the divide was growing, and I wasn't sure if things could ever be fixed. After all this, Emily and I decided to step back from my family for a while. We needed to focus on ourselves and our marriage to heal. We agreed that if my family couldn't respect Emily, we'd move on without them. It was tough, but seemed like the only way to move forward. After all the chaos, Emily and I went no contact with my family. It was time for a break to focus on us and leave the drama behind. For a few weeks, it was quiet, no calls, no texts from my parents or Alex. Then, out of nowhere, I got a text from my mom. It was brief. She said we need to talk and that she's ready to apologize. I was surprised after weeks of silence she suddenly wanted to apologize. I showed Emily, and we both wondered if it was genuine or just a way to smooth things over without solving anything. Despite my doubts, I agreed to meet her. I told Emily I'd go alone just to hear her out, but I wasn't going to let her guilt trip me. We met at a small coffee shop. I hadn't seen my mom since before the wedding and had no idea what to expect. The atmosphere was awkward. My mom looked nervous, which is unlike her. She skipped small talk and went straight to what she called an apology, saying she was sorry for how things turned out and claimed she never meant for us to feel excluded. At first, I was hopeful, but as she talked, I realized something was off. Her apology was filled with statements like, "I'm sorry if you felt hurt, and I didn't mean it if you and Emily thought we were leaving her out." It felt half-hearted, like she was minimizing everything. The more she spoke, the more frustrated I became. I had to interrupt her. "So, get this, my mom's apology just felt totally fake. It wasn't like she just didn't get it, she actively chose to leave Emily out, and it stung both me and her." I told Mom that just saying sorry with a bunch of empty words wasn't gonna cut it. Her face went all tight, and I could see she was getting defensive. She snapped back, saying she didn't want any drama at the wedding. That really got me. I just couldn't believe she still didn't understand the issue. I told her that leaving Emily out caused way more drama than it avoided. The whole thing blew up because they decided to exclude Emily for no real reason, and now the family's all messed up. Mom tried to backtrack, saying Emily and Lily didn't get along, and she was just trying to keep things chill on Alex's big day. She was all about keeping the peace, but that didn't sit right with me. It was obvious she hadn't considered how much it affected me. Leaving Emily out wasn't just about avoiding drama, it was about respect. I was getting more and more frustrated. Then she mentioned Emily again, suggesting maybe Emily was just too sensitive. That was it for me. I let her know that Emily had every right to be mad. She's been treated like she didn't belong for years and now booted out of the family completely. Of course, she felt hurt, and I was done with people acting like it wasn't a big deal. After my little explosion, something changed. Mom's tone shifted, and she looked like she might cry. She said she didn't realize how much her actions hurt me and claimed she missed me, wanting things to go back to how they were. I didn't know if I could believe her. Maybe she was starting to get it, or maybe she just wanted to win me over. I told her straight up, I missed the family too, but I wasn't going to throw my relationship with Emily under the bus for it. If she was serious about fixing things, it started with a real apology to Emily, not just some excuse about avoiding drama. I told her until she made it right, Emily and I weren't coming back to the family. Mom seemed unsure but eventually agreed to apologize to Emily. She promised to reach out, but I could tell she wasn't all in. Her eyes showed it. I wasn't sure if she really got how deep the hurt went or if she'd just try to smooth things over without truly fixing them. I left the meeting feeling a bit hopeful but also on guard. It was nice that she acknowledged some of the wrongs, but I wasn't sure if she'd follow through. I decided to give her a chance, at least for now. When I got home, I told Emily about the chat. She listened and was skeptical, too. We agreed to wait and see what Mom would do next, but one thing was clear: we weren't getting sucked back into the same old cycle. If the family couldn't respect us both, we were ready to move on without them. Update: a few days later, the apology came, but not how I'd hoped. Mom sent Emily a carefully worded text. It was short, just a few lines, saying sorry for any hurt and hoping we could move forward as a family. When Emily showed me, we both knew it was like a checkbox. It was an apology on the surface but lacked any real understanding of why it hurt so much. Emily was mixed, glad Mom reached out, but it didn't hit the main issues. She was still treated like an outsider, and the text didn't change that. I reassured her that we'd move forward on our own terms. We weren't letting a half-hearted apology end this. If they wanted us back, it had to be on a foundation of respect. Meanwhile, the family gossip mill went wild, and I started hearing from cousins. Some people thought I overreacted by not going to Alex's wedding, saying I should have just shown up even if Emily wasn't invited, to keep the peace. But I was done listening to people who didn't get it, or didn't care enough to. Their opinions didn't sway me at all. And then, out of the blue, Alex reached out. So, he hit me up asking if we could grab some drinks, just the two of us. I wasn't sure what to think, but after everything that happened, I figured maybe he had a change of heart. I agreed to meet him, hoping for the best but keeping my expectations in check. When we sat down, Alex caught me off guard. He kicked things off by saying sorry for his part in the wedding drama. He admitted he should have stood up for me and Emily but was trying to dodge conflict with Lily. Hearing him own up to it felt good, but I couldn't just brush off the damage done. I told him that while I appreciated his apology, things between us were different now. The whole mess had left a dent in our relationship. I asked about Lily, curious if she had any plans to reach out to Emily or at least recognize the hurt she caused. Alex hesitated and said Lily still felt justified in excluding Emily and didn't think she owed anyone an apology. That was a hard pill to swallow. While Alex was ready to patch things up, Lily clearly wasn't budging. She was clinging to her grudge, and it didn't seem like that would change. That chat made me see that even if Alex was sorry, the real problem was still there. Lily's attitude towards Emily hadn't shifted, and as long as it stayed that way, I doubted things could ever fully heal. I started questioning if I could keep up my friendship with Alex while his wife held onto this unnecessary hostility. When I got home, Emily and I had a heart-to-heart. I asked her how she felt about dealing with my family after all this. She was straight with me, saying she was open to giving them a chance but only if they genuinely changed. She wasn't about to be around people who didn't respect her, and I totally got that. We had both been through enough. That's when it hit me: I had a tough call to make. I couldn't keep chasing family approval or hoping for peace if they weren't ready to fully accept Emily. We couldn't live in this limbo, wondering if the next family event would blow up again. So, Emily and I set some firm boundaries: no more family events unless Emily was invited and treated right. We weren't going to deal with the same passive-aggressive nonsense anymore. It wasn't about cutting ties but about having our own backs and protecting our marriage. I rang up my folks to explain our decision. As expected, my mom wasn't thrilled and accused me of choosing Emily over family, like that was a betrayal. But I stood my ground, saying we wouldn't put up with any disrespect towards her. My dad didn't say much, but I could tell he wasn't exactly happy either. This choice had clearly left a mark. My parents were hurt, and Alex seemed caught between backing me and staying loyal to Lily. It was obvious things wouldn't go back to the way they were. Yet, through all this, I felt stronger. This whole ordeal had brought Emily and me closer. We'd been through a lot, but it only strengthened our bond. We weren't just muddling through, we were coming out stronger. We decided it was time to focus on us and ditch the family drama. We started planning a vacation we'd talked about forever, and even tossed around the idea of moving to a new city for a fresh start. It felt like the perfect moment to look forward, not backward. In the end, I learned something big: family is important, but the most crucial family is the one you build with the person you love. I knew sticking by Emily was the right call, even if it meant leaving a few people behind.